Morning, everyone, and welcome along to our annual FME event, the FME Intelligence event this year. As you all know, it's normally under the banner of the FME World Tour. But this year, with COVID, Safe put together an amazing event, which was called the FME World Fair, which saw partners from around the globe, as well as customers and the team at Safe Software come together to present on new and interesting ways to use FME. All that content is still available up on Safe Software's YouTube channel. They actually have a playlist there, so do check it out. There's also a presentation in there from Gavin and myself on predictive analytics, so do check it out. So this year, we wanted to have a local event just to have a stage for our customers to be able to present on some of the new and interesting ways that they're using FME here locally. So we wanted to host our own event. So this is the FME Intelligence event, and then next year we'll be back to our regularly scheduled programming of the FME World Tour. Now, I know that the team in Safe are already looking at teams, which are always great every year, and some content, so stay tuned in over the next couple of months when you'll hear a little bit more from ourselves. Very, very excited. Today we've got some really great content, but I just wanted to kind of bring it back to just the reason why we're all here today, and that's maybe to show some new ways that you can connect to your different data sources to be able to transform that data, and then most importantly, to be able to automate those workflows. If anything that we've learned over the last 2 years is that automation is now key. That ability to take that overhead off yourself or a team or a department to allow them to be able to access the data they need, it is paramount. And when we're talking about connect to data, and it's great to have Don here with me today, is unrivaled data support. It's probably one of my favorite slides from the team at Safe. When you look at the wide breadth of what FME can cover, what it can connect to, what it can transform, what it can automate. So really amazing. And it's great over the last couple of years, even locally in Ireland, to see that kind of boom and IoT devices starting to come through. Business intelligence platforms, indoor mapping as well, with Dublin Airport being the first venue here in Ireland to have the Apple indoor maps, which Orve presented on last year, which is really great, and that's now active. So if you ever get to travel again shortly, make sure, and you've got an Apple device, make sure to take it out in the airport and know that that's powered by FME in the background. And obviously we'll have Don here. I'm not going to steal any of his thunder, but I'm sure he'll tell us some new and exciting ways that are coming down the line. I wanted to touch on the FME and the messaging, I guess, which has changed probably the last 18 months from ourselves. And I think we, myself included, have been quite guilty of calling it kind of a geospatial ETL tool. And you'll see that messaging change the last 2 years from the whole team here in IMGS and Safe about it being an integration platform. Again, moving away from spatial, Don and the team have conquered it. There's very little that they can't do in that space. But now moving across the enterprise to be able to connect to enterprise applications, and whether it be on-premise, up in the cloud, or IoT devices out in the field, whatever it may be. And again, the breadth of ways you can do that. So I know everybody here is quite mature with FME, but just in case you're tuning in afterwards, obviously desktop is where you're going to build and run your workspaces. Server is where you put them up to be able to automate it, which is the on-prem version. There's also FME Cloud, which is the exact same as FME Server. It's just hosted up on AWS, and we're very lucky here in Ireland that we have a AWS center here. So again, it can be hosted here. So you've got no GDPR or data residency concerns. And then FME Mobile, I wanted to leave in. I know it was probably a concept when we first showed it about 2 years ago, but now it's really starting to come on. It's not going to replace your Survey 123 or your Map Enterprise Mobile anytime soon, but if you need to be able to put something together nice and quickly for a field crew or a department to be able to collect data out in the field, it's a great new tool. I'm going to show a bit of it today as well, and it's recently got a little bit of a refresh, so definitely stay tuned for that. And again, I know Don's probably going to cover this in his, but I just really wanted to kind of call out the Gartner Magic Quadrant. It's really, Gartner is really recognized that we notice ourselves when we go, especially speaking outside of the GIS to IT departments. Gartner is kind of like the Holy Grail or the Bible. And it's great to see that Don and the team are really starting to invest in that and listen to it. I know myself and Gavin definitely argue about where it sits. We definitely think it should be a little higher, especially on ability to execute. I think that's silly. It should be right up the top. But anyway, it's a work in progress, I guess. So again, it's great to see that they're being recognized inside that quadrant. And I know there's probably great things to come. We have a small subset of the team here with us today. So I've got Gavin Park, who is our lead solutions consultant, who everybody will be quite familiar with. Gavin is our certified FME trainer, certified professional, and certified server professional. Obviously, in the background, we have a whole team of FME engineers like Ryan, Keith, and Zubair as well. And yeah, so again, there's a whole team in there. It's just Gavin tends to be the front face for today for the event. For those of you who don't know, I'm Garrett Cronin. I'm the commercial manager here in IMGS, and Kieran's just turned his camera on, which is nice timing. So also with us is we have Kieran Quirk, who's our operations director. Obviously, Kieran's been with us for the 19 years that IMGS has been around and has worn many hats, including technical director. So it's great to have him along, and there's very little that he's seen in the Irish market that he hasn't.
I don't get to wear an Irish jersey though.
No, it is great. No, it's a casual day over in Vancouver for Don.
That's right. I wear this every day. That's right.
Yeah, looks really good. He's just back from training at 2 a.m. And then we also have Tanya with us as well. So Tanya, as probably most of you will know, is our marketing executive. Tanya is the glue in the background that keeps us all together and on time and helping customers with their presentations and run-throughs on the portal. So please, if you have any questions, you can reach out to our email address is just there. And again, Tanya, thanks for all your hard work to help bring this event along today. I also want to call out some special keynote speakers. So Sean O'Boyle from Northern Ireland Water will be presenting today. This is Sean in the picture. Unfortunately, I couldn't fit Andrew and Robert in, but this is Sean, and they have a great presentation coming up from Northern Ireland Water and their use of FME. We have the, as always, charismatic Don with us as well. Now it is late in the evening, or sorry, in the morning over there. So it's great to have you along, Don.
Yeah, no, my pleasure. Yeah.
Which is great. And we also have Vincent O'Reilly from Dublin City Council as well, who's going to be presenting on a really interesting new use case for FME, which so stay tuned for that. In terms of my agenda, I'm only going to be on for a couple more minutes, and then I'm going to hand over to Don, who's going to speak for roughly about a half an hour or so on the future of FME and the kind of that direction. We're going to leave about 10 minutes for a Q&A at the end of that. So if you do have questions, think about them and pop them in the chat, and Tanya will pick them up. We then have a 10-minute break, which might be a little bit soon for 10 minutes. So for those of you who want to hang on, you can, if you want to ask Don a couple of questions. Anything away, and we can come back to you directly. So yes, I'm really excited so to use this opportunity to ask away. Then we will open back up with Gavin talking about the FME product suite, or sorry, the Microsoft product suite. I was lucky enough to get a sneak peek at this, and I'm just amazed with some of the stats and how widely adopted Microsoft is, and Office 365 and Teams. Even in the last 2 years, it's just phenomenal numbers. So really interesting, and SAFE's support of that platform has really progressed over the last little while, and I know Gavin and I would talk about it quite a lot. So again, we just wanted to kind of showcase some of those bits that we've done over the last little while. Then we've got Sean and the team from NI Water, and I love this title, FME in Northern Ireland Water, helping things flow. Quite a clever little flow. So looking forward to hearing from the team. And then Kieran is going to talk about automating data quality. So again, it's something that would come up quite a lot when in support cases, or if we're doing customer meetings. It's always now with the kind of revolution of business intelligence and the visualization, even from a GIS perspective or into other enterprise applications, the quality of the data is always one of the first things that kind of shows up as, oh wow, okay, we've connected the data, that was all easy, but now how do we fix the quality? So Kieran's going to talk about some of the key concepts there. We'll then have another short break, and then we'll come back with managing and migrating data on ArcGIS Online. Again, something that Gavin and I have been quite busy with probably all this year, just from different customers reaching out to us. Obviously, there's a big migration from from the US to the EU, but there's a lot of other things that FME and ArcGIS and the ESRI platform really work well together through the APIs, etc. So Gavin's going to show some of these probably lesser known uses. And then we'll have Vinny and Gavin speak about using FME for digital transformation. So taking a really kind of manual paper-based workflow, which included faxes, I think, which I hadn't heard in quite a while, to now being all replaced with FME all the way through, right through to progressive web app on the field crews phones. Then Kieran's going to come back and talk about a bit of data sharing. Again, a very relevant topic in today's world, especially as we're starting to kind of come back to the office and that hybrid working solution between the office and at home, and that access to data. So that'll be great. And then as always, we're going to have a quiz and prizes at the end. So we'll hopefully finish up for 10 to 2. It might be a little bit earlier, but yeah, please stay tuned for that. Join us on social media. There's only a couple more slides for myself, so please join along with us on social media today. We have 2 new channels. We have a Facebook channel. We're copying you, Don, in Safe Software. We said we'd create a Facebook channel. So believe it or not, we weren't expecting to be as popular as it was. So please, if you got your mobile phone, you can take it out with the camera and you can scan those QR codes and you can like, subscribe and follow. And then we also are using a couple of different hashtags today. So hashtag FME Intelligence, hashtag IMGS, hashtag FME, and then you can at both companies, ourselves and Safe. As always, every year there's an incentive for the most social media engagement. So we have a €15 just for each voucher. So if you would like lunch on us this week, please like and subscribe and comment as you go along. Dara from Donegal wins it every year, and he can't make it this year. So there's a chance now for someone to step up and claim the prize. So please make sure to join along. Finally, just on the Kahoot quiz, we've a little over 100 people registered for the event, and probably a little bit less. I think we're about 90 or so in attendance so far. So I suppose 100 is the cap. So we'll try fit everybody in, but it will be kind of first come, first served, whoever comes in at the time. I'm going to share this QR code down here at the bottom just before the event, towards the close of the event. So again, you can just scan that and it'll be on your mobile device, or you can come through the browser if you wish instead. So that will be there. And then finally, for me, that the platform, like it is the last couple of years, it has been gamified. So by attending the sessions, you get 10 points. By visiting the IMGS Expo, you get 5 points. We also have a Safe Software Expo. Again, you get 5 points for that. Downloading content, there's 5 points. And we have the FME Transformer Guide in there, which I know is always such a hugely requested resource. So if you do want the latest and greatest version, log in and get it. Last year, you were all very cheeky and everybody went around and collected all the points. So I think we had maybe 10 or 15 people with maximum points. So if that happens again this year, which I'm assuming it will, like last year, we'll take them away, we'll put the names into a hat, and then we'll contact you post-event with whoever won the voucher. And then finally for the quiz as well. So the quiz, first place, we'll get this lovely wine and cheese hamper. So, and then for second and third, we'll also have those just for each vouchers as well. So make sure to kind of stay right till the end and stay engaged. So that's the end of me. I am going to hand over to yourself, Don. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and you should be able to share yours.
Great. Share screen here. And
while you're doing that, sorry, the decided to be a sunny day in Ireland today, so the sun is behind me, so my camera's quite dark. It's struggling to keep up.
Yeah, good. So did that work?
Yes, it did. I can see it.
Awesome. So so thank you, Garrett and Kieran and Tanya, and thanks everybody. I'm really excited to be here today, and I've been stuck in this room for feels like 18 months, and so this is sort of a way of getting out. And as you can see, I have this wonderful rugby jersey that I'm wearing proudly, so I appreciate that as well. So today I'm going to talk about something that gets me really excited, and that's the future of FME. This is where we spend, I get to spend a lot of my time thinking about where are we going with our technology, what's coming next, and so this was something that really looking forward to talking about. So okay, so let's go here. Okay, so first of all, just a little bit, everything you see here, some of it will happen, some of it may not happen, other things will happen, other things will not happen, and so just enjoy this thought deck, talking about where we're going with Safe. So the exciting thing for all of us is that data is, without a doubt now, the most critical thing that all organizations have. It's their most valuable asset. And it's used more and more. Of course, the whole thing is we collect data, we use the data, and it's all about making more informed decisions. That's the only reason we work with data. And that's what FME is about. How can you maximize and make better decisions with data? And the exciting thing again is that this is only going to get, we're only going to get access to more data. The IDC here you can see predicts that the data volumes are just going to continue to increase. And so that's both a challenge and an opportunity. It's a challenge because we want to make sure we have the tools to be able to leverage all that data. And it's an opportunity because for all of us, we're going to be able to make even more informed decisions than we ever have in the past. And so at Safe, we look at this and we look at data and we say, okay, what are the 4 V's of data? The first one is data volume. And so at Safe, you're going to see the FME engine itself with each release is faster and faster. We look at how we can make the engine itself faster, but also we look at how we can make parallel processing and automation. So if you're using automations, you're going to see us introduce concepts that really make it easy for you to not only do things in parallel, but also control them, so you can just split jobs into huge numbers of workspaces that run in parallel, then bring them back together, and then continue on your merry way. So that's all about volume. Variety, as Garrett mentioned, that's one of our strengths. It doesn't matter what kind of data that you work with, our goal is to support it. So we'll talk a little bit about how we're even going to be increasing the variety of different types of data that are out there. And if there's data that you work with that we don't support yet, please do let us know until we start working on some data, a new data source or new data destination or system. They're all vying for position. Data velocity. Traditionally FME is server, we had schedules, you would run them on a batch-based process. Now with streams and automations, we've really made it real time. We introduced streams in FME 2021, and we have some very, very high speed, high velocity data streams for some customers. There's 2 big railways in Canada. Both of them are using live feeds from their rolling stock into FME servers. So super, super exciting. And the last V, normally in this space, we would call it quality, but it had to be a V. So we're going to use the word veracity. And that's all about how good is the data? Is the data source trusted? Can you improve the data? Where are the data things? So this whole notion of data quality assurance is, again, one of the strengths of FME and something that we spend a lot of time thinking about. Okay, so our mission at SAFE is working with partners like IMGS, of course, and it's to help you maximize the value of data. And Garrett mentioned this. We're now we're on the Magic Quadrant with Gartner, and we're a niche. Our whole thing is you're going to hear us talking about spatial data and beyond. As we continue to grow and push from beyond spatial to grow into the entire enterprise. Like Garrett, we wanted to be higher and to the right. I better get my right and my left straightened out. But and that's, of course, Gartner is really a great voice to identify areas where we can't. What do we need to do to move up and to the right? So it's been one of many voices we listen to as we do our product roadmap. So we're pretty excited about that. And yeah, and then there's another one. This is from our friends at I forget. Anyway, if you click on the link, you'll see it. I'm getting all excited here. This is another one. This is all about ETL tools, and you can see on the chart there that no ETL tool does as many different systems as SAFE software and FME. And so lots of different ways of looking at what we do compared with lots of different other tools out there. So our technology, in addition to looking at all the different types of data, we also look at how is this data delivered? When does this data need to be processed? So is it a batch? Batch is great for looking at trends, understanding things that are happening over the longer term, things like that, producing reports. Transactions, again, automations are good with that. Something happens in one system, you want it immediately to update another system to keep those 2 systems in place, in sync, to reduce manual rekeying. Manual rekeying is something that wastes people's time and is error prone. And of course, the whole notion of real time. Data is coming in real time. You want to process it as it comes immediately from the sensor or the other system. And so those are the 3 different types of delivery and processing models that we work to with FME as well. So these are some of the things we consider. So the other thing that's exciting is the growing importance of spatial data. Spatial data on its own is also growing, and we can see this from these vendors that have recently added support for spatial data. If you look at the Amazon databases, they've all added support for spatial data. Google BigQuery recently added support for spatial data. Snowflake, you've probably heard us talk about Snowflake. It's a database, cloud-based database that runs natively on AWS or Azure or Google. And then you can also see it in some other tools that are like Click and Tableau. And there's many, many more. But we're excited because we're starting to see more and more the importance of spatial being embraced by these large vendors because their customers want it. They're not adding spatial just because they have nothing to do. They're adding it because they actually see value. And at SAFE and FME, our strength is spatial data. Nobody does spatial data like FME, and we're continuing to invest in spatial data. And so it's really an exciting place to be. So now is a question. Seems like a simple one. What do we sell? Well, you might say we sell the FME Enterprise Integration Platform. Garrett had that. And we say it's the only enterprise integration support for solution for support for spatial data. Others might say others have support for spatial data. We'll say, well, this is our slide. We get to define spatial data. And for us, spatial data is not just points and lines. It's raster, it's LiDAR, it's BIM, it's 3D, it's all those things. And there's no other platform that supports those. And so we have the desktop, the server, hosted on cloud, mobile. So very much what Garrett just showed. And yeah, I know we do sell that. But really, when we get right down to it, what do we sell? We sell the engine. Because even when you think about desktop, how do we just determine the levels? It's about the engine. What formats does it support? What systems? So server, when you buy, you can actually install and run server without an FME Engine license. You're going to be able to do everything that server does except run an FME job. And we're okay with that because it's really all about the engine. And what is it about the engine? Well, you give it this command package, and it just does its thing. It's stateless. It doesn't need anything else but this command package. The command package completely describes to the engine what it needs to do. The server and the desktop are 100% the same. We don't have a build for engines for server or one for desktop. We have the same code. It's exactly 100% the engine. You could take the engine from desktop, drop it in server, and it would actually just work. And so you're going to see why this is important a little bit later. So it's all about the engine. The engine does everything. Everything we do is about the engine. Okay, so then what about desktop? Well, desktop is where we build the workflows. And so in a no-code approach, you're going to see more and more. This whole idea of data, we're going to be using data more and more to help you with your authoring. And this is also where you gain understanding of your data. You can build and test the workflows. And you could even, from the desktop, you can even use the command line to run engine. And so desktop is all about configuring and building your workflows for the engine. Okay, so how are we improving workflow authoring? Because clearly that's what desktop is all about. So the first thing is comparing workspaces. I don't know if this has ever happened to you. It's happened to me. I'm a little bit scattered at times. I'm working on a workspace. And then I save it, and then I come back later and I create a copy, and then I want to know, well, what did I actually change? I want to compare two workspaces I've done to see, well, this one used to work. Now I made some changes. It doesn't work. What's actually changed, and how can I understand that as part of my process? So in 2022, you're going to be able to say file, compare workspace. You'll pick your workspace. And then you're going to see between the two workspaces what's been deleted, and they're all color coded, what's been modified in yellow, and what's been added in green. And then you're going to be able to visually see the difference. You'll be able to merge them. So you would then click on the merge, which is up in the upper right there, that button right over here. Not sure if you can see my mouse or not, but and then you're going to be able to see, oh, okay, I'm going to merge them. So these are all, then you'd be able to select the boxes on the things you want to merge. You'll be able to choose what you want to merge. And then ultimately, you'll be able to confirm the merge and accept it. And now you will have merged in your files. Now, of course, this is going to be an amazing building block. We're going to be able to use this for other things, like when you're upgrading your FME server and you want to be able to see transformers that have changed. You know, you could just say, hey, I'm going to do them all and go for I feel lucky. But you might want more control. So now you're going to be able to use this. We're going to be able to leverage this in other ways on the desktop authoring. So that's one of the changes that we have that we're pretty excited about. And yeah.
That's amazing, Don. So I can basically fire Gavin because I don't need them anymore. Basically, what you're telling me. This is
no. You never
not
need
yet.
FME to fire people. You would be able to get Gavin to do other things. See?
Yeah,
There
absolutely
you
more
go.
value add. But no, that is so powerful. I can see the
Yeah.
chat. Everybody's loving it here in the
That's
chat.
right. Yeah, if
That's
there's one
amazing.
thing in the high tech space, it's a shortage of people, right? So
Yeah,
anyway.
100%.
Yeah. So there, I'm picking up for Gavin there. Gavin could also come to Vancouver, and we have an office with his name on it. It just happens.
Oh no, we could never let him go. We could never let him go.
We'll give him a Canucks jersey.
Yeah. That's why we didn't invite him to this session. We were afraid, but the lure of you, that's it.
Yeah, that's right. So the next thing is about data. And this is while you're working with FME Workbench, you run jobs, there's lots of stuff going on. Now we're going to use that data to help you with the authoring experience. So help you choose next transformer is one thing. We've been collecting statistics if people opt in. They're completely anonymized, so we don't actually know what any one person's doing, but we know how people work with FME. And so the idea is you'll pick a transformer. It'll suggest other ones based on the data that you're using and the transformers you've already used. And the idea is helping you select the next transformer and that sort of thing. Shorten the learning curve, all those sorts of good things. So that's the next thing. The next thing is, using the data in a cache. So again, data-driven Azure authoring to help you with the authoring. So in this one here, I have the attribute filter. As everybody should know, I'm a huge XML fan, and with XML, sometimes the attribute filter can be a real bear because you got to copy and paste the values or type them in, but not anymore. With the attribute filter in FME 2022, I can say import from feature cache, and then it'll automatically show me the different values that are there and populate it for me. So this is a huge deal. And it's going to save you tons of authoring time, make things less error prone. And it also helps you understand your data better because what if you could have one that was misspelt? What if you had GRVLE or something? You go, that's, then you're going to find the record that had the invalid value. So you can do lots of different things like that. Again, it's about using data to understand your data as you're authoring it rather than after you've run some workflows. Data type, you're going to see data types also flowing through your whole workspace. So now FME will know the data type of all the attributes as they're flowing through. So this also is a big deal. You'll be able to change them. You'll be able to, it'll also calculate what it thinks is the best fit. But anyway, this whole notion of it being aware of data types is also really exciting. And then we have the schema scanner. Full disclosure, the schema scanner kind of leaked out. It's in FME 2021, the schema scanner is there, but it wasn't supposed to be there. It was supposed to be hidden. But anyway, because in our mind, it wasn't quite ready, but it will be quite ready in FME 2022. If you're using it in FME 2021, lucky you, and just know that it's going to get even better. But the whole idea there is being able to use schema in your workflows to control the workflows. And you might want to detect changes in input data or things like that, or look at different types of things in your schema. So this is
it snuck into my presentation, Don.
It did. Well, there you
it
go.
did, yes. So
yeah,
it's there.
see?
So
Yeah.
it got very sneakily in there. So yeah, at least now it comes with the caveat.
So anyway, and the schema scanner has been one of the building blocks underneath FME for a long time, but we pulled it to the top. It's super powerful when you use it. So yeah. So and metadata is something that you're going to hear us working more and more with as well. Yeah. So that is the desktop. So all about authoring. This whole using the data-driven approach to make your workspaces even better is what we're doing. Of course, we're adding new transformers. Of course, we're adding things like that. But I think from the highest level, when it comes to desktop, those things we're using data to help you drive the authoring is the big thing. Okay, so what about server? So we also sell this thing called server, and it's all about, as Garrett touched on, it's all about automation. And so what is server? In the old days, it was just a scheduler. And people said, I don't need server. I'm just going to use a task manager. I'm going to use cron and do it myself. And people had said, Safe would say, to come to me and they'd say that's a problem. I'd say, yeah, it is, but it's not their problem. It's our problem. We need to make server so good that there's no reason why they wouldn't want to use it. And so that's what automations is about. And you're going to see us continue to take automations to the next level. Now we do real-time streams. And I don't know of another platform where you can do streams and automations all within the same technology stack. There's some vendors who have high-speed data streaming, and then they have event processing like automations. But if you need to move from one to the other, it's a completely new stack. You have to retrain your staff and everything like that. Whereas in FME, it's all the same workspace underneath. And if you do need to move from one to the other, the amount of tweaks you need to do are very minimal, because we have had some real-time data flows which start as very, very slow, but then over time they get faster, 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 and then they become, hey, let's turn this into a data stream. And we'll talk about processing, the costing and all that later too. So anyway, so server's all about exploiting the engine. Okay, that's all it does, is it takes, you got all this engine stuff and it just exploits it. Okay, so how are we giving you new ways to leverage the engine is really what is server all about. And of course, automations, we've just started. If you want to know our roadmap, then this Enterprise Integrations Pattern book has it all right out there. And so we're working through this based on customer feedback, what people want to see. Dead letter queues coming. We added guaranteed delivery recently, but what if something can't be delivered even after you can? We're going to make it easier for you to capture all those. Enterprise service bus, being able to define the service bus, what's on it, so that then you can use it. Improved debugging is a big one. Improved logging, being able to put them in log files and also embrace other logging. And then automations, putting automation apps in as well. Making server more intelligent. Again, we started this in FME 2021, but the idea here is large server deployments. They have many engines. How can we have server react and allocate the resources to maximize the value so things aren't stalling and things like that. So what you'll do is you'll define rules, and we're going to continue to do that. And these rules are applied as the FME server is running to reallocate resources. So engines now will reassign themselves on the fly anytime they're idle or whenever a job is finished, not just when they're started. So exciting there. Automations and parallel processing. We have this new parallel block, and the idea here is that one message is going to come in and only one message is going to come out, but they're going to wait until all the jobs inside this block are complete. So now you will have full control of parallel processing. In this example here, you could have up to 600 FME jobs running in parallel, but the logging is not going to be done until, or anything downstream is not going to be done until they're all complete. In previous versions, you could certainly fire up all these parallel jobs, but you had no way of actually bringing them back into control. So that's, we're really excited about that. And of course, as we showed in the FME World Fair, we fired up an FME server with 1,000 engines. And so just to show the parallel, we did 1 year of processing in 1 hour. That was kind of the thing. And so that was a lot of fun. And so, yeah, so parallel processing is a big deal. When you think about data volumes, how can you process all this data and keep it under control? Yeah. So the next thing, again, coming back to data, one of the challenges with FME server is you might have, a development server, test server, staging server, production server, and you want to be able to move workflows and projects easily from one to the other. It might even be on the same server, but you want to move them from, this process from dev, test, staging, and production. Often when you're moving it, the things you want to change are like the web connections, the database connections, and other things like that. So we're going to have this notion of a YAML file. YAML's not quite as cool as XML, but it's getting there. And you'll specify things like, you'd use a project to move from one to the other. And then the YAML file would have database connections, web connections, and things like that. So this is just getting off the ground, but this is where we, we really want to get to, because this is what we hear from customers from time to time is, how do I move, in a controlled fashion? And so that's what you're going to see. So we're super excited about that.
Oh, that's huge, John, especially for some of our utility customers that would have those multi-environments. And to be fair, some of the councils as well would have that kind of really kind of highly kind of thought out architecture when it comes to FME, especially now where it's being a bit more business critical for some of the operations inside the council. So yeah, absolutely phenomenal. That's amazing.
Yeah. We're pretty excited about it. Absolutely. Yeah. Something I'm not going to talk about today is security, but SAML's coming, multi-factor authentication, being able to plug the server into any existing authentication framework is the goal. So yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
Amazing.
So the other one is hey, you can build all these great workflows using data all over the place with FME Server. But what if you want to know, hey, for this data, this source data I have here, where is it being used? Because it would really be nice if I'm going to change this data set, or I can't get this data set anymore. What is actually going to be impacted across my organization? So again, this is Gartner refers to this as data fabric, and so within FME Server, you're going to be able to understand for any piece of data, where is it used, what automations use it, what schedules use it, what server apps use it, what streams use it, anywhere where it's used. And so then you're going to be able to trace where it's used and things like that. Don't get too excited about that graphic. A guy in a green shirt built that himself. And I'm sure it'll be much nicer than that. But that's the concept that we're working on, is not FME Server, not just for building all these great data workflows and automating all your data, but also being able to tell you where it's used and tracking that for you. So then you'll be able to get understanding of what data assets are being used, how important are they to your organization. So that's,
and again, very, very common question, that data lineage piece as well. So absolutely, it's again, wow, those last two bits are really huge, especially for our customer base. Anyway, it's something that would come up quite commonly when we're in meetings. So yeah, no, it's amazing.
Oh, good, excellent, yeah. So the other thing is the world is going serverless. So in FME 2021, you can launch into FME Server on AWS Fargate with EKS underneath. That's easy supported deployment, and we do have a number of customers that are doing this. And what we mean by serverless is then there's no virtual machines underneath. That's all handled by Amazon, Fargate and EKS, and you can spin engines up and down, and it works really great. You would use Aurora or something for the database, and you can find out all about that. But we're pretty excited about that. Of course, the world is not only AWS. There's also Azure and Google. Certainly, we bump into Microsoft Azure a lot. And so our strategy at SAFE has always been to be agnostic about platform, and it's the same in the cloud. We want to support all the clouds equally, just as we supported Windows and Linux. And once we even had IBM AIX and HP UX and Solaris for all us older folks. So so that's coming as well. Licensing options. Once upon a time, there was perpetual licenses, and that's all we sold. And customers would buy, you'd buy a desktop, an offering, you'd buy a server, you'd buy some engines, and then for support and all the upgrades, you'd pay a maintenance fee. That's not going away, but where we're really seeing the excitement is is in the area of subscriptions. These are really, really flexible deployments, enable you to grow FME deployments really easily and more cost effectively, and just give you amazing amounts of flexibility. You can easily set up staging tests and all, and during your subscription period, you're able to grow, alter your deployment at your will. So really excited about that. The last one is a CPU-based pricing for server. It's gone through a number of names. We call it dynamic engines, but if nobody knows what FME Server is, dynamic engines is, we could call it, giraffe. We've got giraffe pricing, and people don't know. Dynamic engines is kind of like that. So it's really, what is it? It's really CPU-based pricing, where it can be on-premise or in the cloud, and that was another confusion that dynamic engines created, because it sort of implied that it had to be an environment where you could spin up and down resources, but we have a lot of customers using it on premise. They might have 2 standard engines or 2 dedicated FME engines, but then they spin up a whole bunch of these CPU-based ones, what we call dynamic, just to handle their peaks. So they might have 10 engines on their site, but most of them aren't doing anything until handling these peaks. And the idea there is then when these other engines are used, these CPU-based ones, you pay CPU time by the second. And this is also great for data streams. You might have a data stream that can go for long periods of time with no data. And so you can dedicate an engine to that, knowing that you're only paying for the CPU time. You're not paying for the time the engine's just sitting there waiting for work. It's also great when you're talking to web services because you might have a really slow web service and the engine spends most of its time just waiting for the web service to get back to it. So so this is also something that's pretty interesting. And we start talking about all these elastic environments, we're going to see more and more of this. So yeah. So how about the mobile roadmap? So Garrett touched on that. That's one of the areas we're pretty excited about. And it is, really invokes all of our platform from the desktop to the server to the mobile. The whole AR side is really exciting. We have customers using this. And so you can just see one of the things I'm a pretty simple individual. Anybody who's met me for 10 minutes will know, boy, oh boy, he's really simple. And but one thing that I like is, even the ability, you're going around your utility or a city, you're going around, and if I point my phone at infrastructure on the ground, up pops the attribution of it. Huge time saver. So that's one just of street lights. And here's one of pipes. You can, just by walking around, you can see that pipe's made of PVC. It was installed in 1986. And you just as you're walking around, all this information just pops up. You can imagine how much time that's saving if you want to do quickly, be able to inspect and know where all these things are. Yeah, you can look online. But if you're in your truck and there's a problem and you want to just, understand what's going on, it's super, super easy to do. And I'm really excited about this. Some of the things we're going to do, support Android, of course, as well as iOS. And we now support on iOS, we support the native USDZ AR model. So that's the native format of iOS. We're going to be adding smart labels that pop up, labels that you can click on to get more information, things like that. And so this is early days. And again, if you're using our mobile apps, and we're really looking forward to getting feedback on what you would like to see moving forward. We're making that connection between AR and the server tighter and tighter is really key. And so, yeah, you're going to see better integration with the platform. You're going to see the UI now looks more and more like FME. That's another thing you're going to see is across the platform. They're going to look more consistently. And yeah, and so that's some of the things on mobile. So what about the FME engine itself? In FME 2022, and this is interesting for AWS, it's going to run natively on the AWS Graviton 2 processor. So we have it running in-house now, FME Server with FME engines native on AWS Graviton 2. So we're really excited about that. That just drives down the cost of your cloud infrastructure at the same price. Also, Apple has the M1, which is ARM. And so we have the engine running natively on ARM. Well, what does that mean? Well, actually, you can run the FME engine on your iPhone if you really wanted to. But anyway, we've done that. So maybe we'll do that in the future. We'll talk a little bit about that. So it's, and now it's just standard stuff, expanding the reach of the FME engine. And again, new formats. These are just some on the 3D side. We can do Rhino. We'll be looking at that. The ESRI. ESRI is obviously a big player in the market, so we're adding support for their mobile geodatabase format. ESRI also has a knowledge graph, and so we're going to support that. And it's like Neo4j, but it's an ESRI version, and so that's coming as well. And FITS. So if you need to read FITS data, we're going to support that. It can give you FITS. anyway, so you need yeah. So there you go. And Voxel. So that's you like that one, Garrett?
Yeah, I did. I had to give you a bit of props for that one.
I like my own humor. Yeah. So
Yeah.
anyway, but when you're in a room all by yourself, you know.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I hear you.
That's right. So also Voxel support. So so that's a big deal. True Voxel support. That's, you know, and so we're going to use that to also support point clouds and 3D rasters and things like that. So that's pretty exciting as well. The Apple iOS imagery format that they introduced that nobody supports, will support that. And then a whole list of other things that we're continuing on. I'm probably most excited by the last one, Parquet format, phase 2. We're going to add the ability to parallelize it, complex data structures, and it really is like the gateway to things like Databricks and a lot of these other cloud-based databases. So you're gonna see us do more on Parquet too. And if anybody out there is using Parquet, we would really like to hear from you on what you would like to see with Parquet. Yeah, we call it Parquet. Some call it Parquet. What do you guys call it?
Parquet as well.
Parquet. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. So there we go. So that's some pretty exciting things out there. Yeah. Some things under consideration. So again, let us know if any of these resonate with you and what you would like us to do. And really just in general about any system that you would like FME to work with, just reach out to IMGS or SAFE and let us know, because we're continuing to expand that whole reach of FME. That's really what it's all about. So what about the flexibility of FME Engine? Wouldn't it be cool if the FME Engine had its own REST API? So think about that. FME Engine as itself is a standalone microservice. Then maybe you could put it on your phone. And because remember, all the FME Engine needs is this package that tells it where it can get everything, right? And so, and right now it's done, you know, on a command line. If you see the big horrible command lines, I'm allowed to call them horrible, big horrible command lines that we give this thing to run. And Server does the same thing. It just gives it a big command line, and the FME Engine just does its thing. Well, wouldn't that be nice if it was wrapped up in a REST API? Then you could run it anywhere, and you wouldn't even need the server infrastructure. Anything that could actually talk to this REST API could do it. And then, of course, one of the things you'd have to tell it is where to report the work done. And that would, you know, maybe the CPU based would be, you know, because after all, where is the best place for the engine? It's close to the data. It could be on an edge device, right? When we start talking about IoT, some of those edge devices, yeah, they're going to be running an ARM chip. And FME, you know, you could have a scaled down FME engine, or you know, 2 gigabytes isn't that much anymore. And so you could have the FME engine right there, because often these IoT streams, one of the things you're doing is filtering out a lot of the information, looking for, you know, for the nuggets that are actually information you need. So the closer you get FME to the data, the better. And so that's, and so this is one of the things that we're working on. This whole idea of a hybrid deployment where you could have a single FME, in this case, in this full FME server deployment, but you could have the engines in various places, all part of one server. So typically you might, let's say you have AWS, often organizations are spread across on-prem and in the cloud. And so they might want to have their server split with some engines on-prem, some in the server. And which engines do you put on-prem? Well, when all your data is on-prem, right? And that's why when we're selling FME Cloud, one of the first things I always ask is, where's your data? Because you want to have FME close to the data. And yeah, and so we're, you know, in the early days on this, we're defining what this is going to look like. But one of the first things we would do is FME Server itself would use this new REST API itself for talking to the server. But you could execute it from anything. You could execute it from Lambda if you're an AWS person. You could execute it from maybe FME Online, and that's really what it's all about. And so, yeah, because after all, really what we sell is the engine. That's where we spend all our time. That's where we spend all our time figuring out how to exploit. And so there we go. So yeah, and please do, if you're an FME user and you do have time, if you could complete the Gartner survey, fme.ly/DM for Don Murray -Gartner. That would be, it takes, I think, 8 minutes, but this is for, helps us with Gartner and the peer insights review. And yeah, so.
That's brilliant, Dan. We shared that last year, but what we'll do is we'll actually share it as part of at the after event as well. So we'll share that link on with everybody as well, so everybody can kind of click on it and complete that quick survey.
Yeah, and full disclosure, I've challenged our entire sales team and our entire expert team that me personally, I'm going to get more customer surveys done than all of them put together.
Nice.
They really enjoy my crazy challenges. Yeah, but anyway, so there you go.
No pressure for us.
Yeah.
Don, so many great topics. I was kind of writing notes as I went along, but I am conscious of time, so I don't want to take it away from the customers. Tanya, I don't know if you have any questions. If you want to turn on
the questions, the questions are here, Gareth. They're on the chat. I can read them out for Don if that's the handiest thing.
Work away.
So the first one from John Hawkins in Waterford is a bit more of a technical one. When writing to AGOL, sometimes the rater can fail because of a bad value or string that's too long. When it fails, there's no indication as to which record caused the problem and why this is being and why is this something that's being looked at.
I will take that one. I will take that and get back to the team. Yeah, that is a pretty detailed one. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so. I think that's the tight one. But another one from Frank here in Wexford. Can YAML be updated and shared across all users as a user sets up a new database or web connections, so our connection names are standardized across all our FME users?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So you'll be able to do that. Yeah, because often you do have the same connection names on the different servers, but you want them pointing to different things on the different servers. So yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And from Louise in Bornemona, does the parallel processing use multiple cores from the server? And if so, can you expand the processing capacity by adding additional servers?
The answer is yes, absolutely. So typically, you can think of FME Engine more or less. It's not 100% true, as we're also adding multi-threading, but more or less what we typically do is allocate one engine per core. And then you can add many engines on that one there. We added 4 engines per machine, and we spun up 250 different machines on AWS. So yeah, and automations just works after it all. You don't have to worry about any of the details, and you'll get the same result with one engine as if we had with 1,000 engines. Yeah.
Perfect. And another one from John in Waterford. Is there any effort being put into developing a mobile app to manage FME server, as rendering on mobile browsers is very limiting? Would be very handy for FME server administrators to access and interact with FME server like to do with a desktop web browser. Right. So yeah, like a more rich mobile app for FME server administrating.
Okay. In the FME server website itself is reactive, but I'll make a note of that we should look at it from administration to see how it renders itself on small handheld devices. Yeah.
Very good. I think, unless Tanya does any other questions, I think they're the ones I can see on the chat. A lot of love for the import function with the JSON. That seems to be getting good comments there, and definitely some other areas. The one area from my point listening, Don, just on the direction of the company, it seems to be a big push towards developer operations and improving. It's a bit of a buzzword these days, DevOps, but in what you're doing in cutting down the time it creates to create the integrations, to move them from test to dev to production and manage that. And also you were talking about the version control and GitHub. Like it seems to be now moving towards more complex integrations, which can be driven more. Is that a big part of the strategy now with Safe?
Absolutely. And you're going to see, and part of that was that being able to diff those workspaces visually, but that's part of then, being able to put them in GitHub and then being able to see what is different between the two versions, right? Now you can put them in GitHub and then you can view the text and try to figure out, but really, no. You need to be able to visually see what's different. And so yeah, absolutely.
And you've led nicely into I'll give a bit of pitch to my 2 sessions because I like to pitch myself, you know. So we talked about the veracity, and that is what we're trying to talk about when we talk about data quality, being able to have data quality as a team sport, and that's a big part of. We think FME is just perfect from all its areas, and we'll cover that later on. And also the data democracy, you know, being able to enable organizations now to take advantage of the data. I think that's a massive piece, and a lot of organizations aren't able to use all their data. And think where FME now is going is with the move towards the enterprise service bus. I kind of said you're a bit further on in my deck, but I always do. We you know, we can see that push, and that's a big push as well. Is that getting everybody to use the data?
Yeah, and FME Server Apps have just, for some organizations, they've absolutely just taken off. And we have organizations that have made self-service portals for their third-party, where they can just drag and drop their files they've collected, get real-time QA being done on the fly, and then sent back. Others have used an email approach where people in the field would email them, knowing that, you know, in the field, sometimes you don't have connectivity. But the nice thing about an email is, as soon as the device does get connectivity, it will send it out. And then by the time they finish lunch, they've got the report again, just to save time, so they don't have to go back to the shop. A week later, they get a phone call and hear about how bad the data was. It's much better if they're still out in the field and they can fix it immediately. Yeah. So, but FME Server Apps also is a great way to share all your data assets across the organization. Yeah.
It's great we're on the one track. It shows I'm not lying later on when you've actually said what I'll be talking about. So that's always good. That reinforces the pitch, you know. So, but no, the FME, like, and what we'll see with Dublin City Council this morning's presentation, who have really taken advantage of the FME server app piece, and that's a really good use of it as well. Yeah, exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. But we've even seen departments outside of kind of GIS or IT, like we have customers that are using FME from a finance perspective, that are using self-service portals for people to come in for payrolls from a council perspective. So some really, again, it's just so easy and friendly put together. We've got fire departments, we've loads of people, again, with no help from ourselves, where we'd be talking to myself and Gavin and be like, oh, we've done that. Have you not seen what we've built here? Again, it's that intuitive that, they're already miles ahead of us, our customers, which is, again, amazing. It kind of keeps the fire under the team here in FME to make sure that we're constantly challenging and trying to do new things with it to try impress our customer base.
No, good. We just used FME to move our whole human resource system from one system to another, completely non-spatial, and it's kind of nice because, of course, we did, you know, we used FME, but the customer, the company who was doing the integration, UKG, they said they'd never seen data come across so clean, because, of course, as we were moving it, we were also, you know, flagging data problems that we were finding and automatically fixing it. So that was kind of nice feedback from them. So yeah,
we did the same. We moved our help desk from Salesforce to Jira using FME. Yeah. So we drink our own Kool-Aid. We did it. Yeah. One final question came in, Don. I know we've got 2 minutes on the clock here. What happens is the session switch, so we have to stick to time. But one customer asked Alan, he says he's new to FME, where does he go to get information? I think you guys have got some fantastic resources.
Yeah, and the FME Academy is a new self-learning thing that we have with SAFE. We have great partners, of course, IMGS, but online there's a new FME Academy in the community. That's great. If you're up in the middle of your night or my night or somebody's night, we also have live chat online, which is good. So yeah. So
no, it's brilliant, and there's tons of resources as well. So again, Alan, that's something that we can reach out to you afterwards as well. There's tons of kind of focus then as well, Don. I love the new, and again, we probably shared with a lot of customers, the new introduction to FME Desktop. It was just an hour and 40 minutes, the new training course, rather than it being a big 6-hour course. And it's a great a refresher for customers that maybe haven't picked up FME in a while. So I thought that was really, really clever. So again, for yourself, Alan, that's a great little way just to kind of dip your toe in. It's only 2 hours. Training, the data is there, and again, you can reach out to myself, and I can get you a temporary license as well to kind of get you up and running while you have a play around with it. Don, I'm just conscious of time, and I really want to thank you. I know it's probably nearly 3 a.m. over there now, or so really appreciate you coming along. So it's been great, and again, an absolutely amazing presentation. Really appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much. And I just want everybody to know, like, this is the beginning of the discussion. Please do reach out to IMGS or myself anytime. We love what we do, and we're very lucky for that. But all the great ideas ultimately come from from our customers who are, share with us what they want to do next. So, and thank you, Garrett and Kieran and Tanya, for giving me this opportunity. It was a lot of fun. So
brilliant.
Thanks very much, Tom.